All right, welcome back to the Last Week This Week podcast, episode 42. We're back for the new year, and I'm Ian Scott.
And I'm Zack Huber. First episode of 2024.
Yeah, well, yeah, technically, yeah. And this is the podcast where we talk about nerd topics from the past week and this current week, and we got a bunch to go over with you. A lot of Disney brands, surprisingly,
Yeah.
maybe not surprisingly.
Daredevil, Indiana Jones, and Mandalorian. And then we're also going to talk about some sci-fi material coming this way, which will be the Three Body Problem coming to Netflix, and a potential Star Trek prequel set in the Kelvin verse. And then lastly, some Tom Cruise and maybe one extra topic if we have enough time.
If we got the time, right, right. But I say we jump right into some Mandalorian news.
Yeah,
because that is it's pretty interesting.
Do you want to kind of start us off?
Yeah, I'll intro it. So basically, it was announced recently that they are making a Mandalorian and Grogu movie. There's a lot of rumors and reports that came out after the fact that was like, well, season 4 is being planned, and then there's a report after that where it's like, the movie is for sure happening, and that was due to the strikes. But the season 4 now is kind of in limbo because that was written before the strikes, from what I hear. And so they don't know if they're going to put out a season 4 or not. Maybe that'll turn into partially the movie. We're not sure. But I don't know what your thoughts are on this.
Well, I kind of want to know what your thoughts are first. What do you think about this? Maybe we have a season 4. We apparently have a movie.
Yeah. I think a movie is good. I of course was very critical on season 3 of The Mandalorian, but I think with a movie type budget and hopefully a concise story within a movie runtime, I think that could really work for The Mandalorian. I'm just a little worried that The Mandalorian will never have finality, because they even said, like, well, if this movie does well, then there's going to be sequels. And I'm like, but I don't want there to be a ton of sequels, like maybe just make one really good movie and let that be enough.
Because I'm curious, Mandalorian, even though we are critical of season 3, like we didn't love it. I didn't hate it. Some people
I would say
it,
I dislike it,
but I disliked it. I didn't love it.
Yeah.
But regardless, season 3 did end in a way where you could, if you wanted to just make movies, you could just make movies. I feel a bit strange if they were to make a movie and they're like, then continue the story in season 4
in the show,
and then maybe another movie, or maybe just season 5.
I think, I totally agree. I think, like, if you were to do a movie, you can't go back to a show format unless it's like the final thing he's ever in. I feel like it has to be like The Mandalorian, the final season.
Because I think I read a report that said that we would still ultimately end with that Dave Filoni Mandalorian verse movie, so like the story would be coming to an end.
Okay, so that is confirmed that'll be a finale movie then. For that universe.
I believe so.
Okay, but interesting.
To be honest, I don't really believe anything that I hear from Lucasfilm, because it to be honest, like, it seems like this idea of a Mandalorian movie just came out. Like we had been talking about that movie with the director of James Mangold for the First Jedi, and then we have that movie, like the Taika Waititi movie, and then we had the Rey movie, which I think the Rey movie is probably happening, but there's been so many changes, and this just feels like, even I guess what makes me feel like a little weird about it is they're not like, well, hey, maybe there's a season 4, but we don't really know. I think they're just kind of like, it feels like they're scrambling And
I would almost say they're like creating a lot of backup plans in case like things like the audience doesn't love the movie or the audience do love like the movies. So like it just feels like Disney now has to be reactionary because they are like losing quite a bit of money off of so many box office failures this past year.
But I think even more than just Disney, I just feel like this is Lucasfilm in general lately.
Yeah. I mean, Lucasfilm has definitely shoved all their focus onto Star Wars and making that a success.
Well, I mean, what else have they really done? They tried to do a little bit of
remember they were going to do an Indiana Jones show after the movie, and that got canceled. They were going to keep making Willow, and that got canceled and removed off of Disney Plus totally.
Right.
So, yeah, and I'm pretty sure there was reports that was like Disney telling Lucasfilm that like you're only going to work on Star Wars at this point. Which I guess makes sense. Like Star Wars is a huge, like when done right, it's a huge cash cow. But
I would like for Lucasfilm to like make something new. You know?
Well, I mean, like just apart from Star Wars, just a new IP.
But even it was interesting. I was listening to another podcast today, and basically the idea being presented was like, just get away from everything after the original trilogy or the original trilogy or whatever, even like the sequel stuff, just move away from it, either 45 days 45 years into the future, or go back to the old Republic and just start making content or movies or shows around that time period, as opposed to trying to figure something that works out.
I think that is a huge problem. Like creating so much that fits within like the original, I guess I'm saying the original 9 episodes now. Fitting stories, so many stories in between those stories, it starts like just the universe of that era starts to get muddled, and we start to care less and less about those stories. And I think you even run into plot hole problems. Like when they do this like finale movie that Dave Filoni's making, how could you not include Luke Skywalker in that? Because he is like the biggest, most well-known Jedi in the universe at that point. You know, like
I mean, I guess he still could, depending on when it takes place, because Mandalorian is how many years after Jedi? Do you know?
At this point, they're now 7 years. Like season 3 of Mandalorian was 7 years after Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, so like if we're staying even if you jump like 4 years later, you know, you're still not running into the Ben Solo issue, you know? So like he's not super so like that makes sense to me. But I think like you run into the issue of, again, unless we find out Ahsoka dies, or you know, like, or you find out that Grogu dies. I mean, there's things like that.
Star Wars won't kill off those kind of characters, I don't think. I mean, at this point, they seem very very unwilling to kill even minor characters like Reva or that kind of sheriff played by Timothy Olyphant. Yeah. So like I don't know, and I don't even think they killed off Cad Bane. Like I think he's still alive.
I still think he's alive too.
Yeah. So, but I don't know if we're ever gonna see those two characters again, because I don't think a Boba Fett season 2 is ever gonna happen. But they were not willing to kill off those characters to further a storyline, and I just don't see them willing to kill off a main character like that for one of their main shows.
Right.
Unless it's like the finale of the universe for some reason.
But going back to what you were talking about with the finality of a story.
Yeah.
Do you think that they are capable of doing something like that? Like, do you think that Lucasfilm in Star Wars is capable of committing to a finality in today's like day and age? Because maybe it's the Marvel sort of stuff that I'm thinking about the most, but it does seem like all other studios have kind of brought in like, well, let's just keep it going, as opposed to like what we used to have, which was, for better or worse, like there wasn't necessarily always the means to keep something going forever.
Right.
And what Marvel did was unprecedented. But at the same time, there was that, well, there's the finished story and we're moving on, you know? And I question that that'll happen, but maybe it will. Cause I mean, like in Andor, they're just doing 1 and 2. They're doing season 1 and 2, and then apparently that'll be it. Unless we find out, oh, and now we're going to have a side character get their own spin-off show.
To be honest, I'm shocked it didn't go this way. Like when the series was even like first announced, they had announced the season 1 plan where it was like over the course of like that specific era. I don't know how long it was, but then like the season 2 would be taking place like every 3 episodes would be like a year closer, I think, to Rogue One.
Right.
And
I think they're still doing that. It'll be like every
they are,
3
yeah.
episodes is like 2 years in the future or something like that.
My prediction was that season 1, if it did so well, they would then break up season 2 into like 3 or 4 seasons, which they haven't done.
Which
so
I'm glad.
I think
I don't need that.
So I think it, you know, they're capable of ending smaller stories, but in a shared kind of universe that they, I think, have huge hopes of really making as successful as Marvel, you know, like that Ahsoka, Mandalorian, Boba Fett type of universe they're making. I don't know, and like unless it becomes so unpopular that they're just like, yeah, let's just write a good ending for this. I don't think they will ever do a true finale. It'll be more of like a soft finale, like Marvel did with Endgame, and then continuing afterwards. So
you could be right.
It's just I just think that's in their best interest.
Do you think
know?
season 4 is happening?
If the movie comes out first, I do not think so. I think the scripts will then be either beforehand, they'll be like written into the movie, or they will be a part of like the sequel to the Mandalorian movie if it does well enough.
And if it was just movies from then on out and you only had seasons 1 through 3, how would you feel?
I think I'd be okay with that.
Yeah.
I would. Yeah. I think because like I said, I think a movie budget would maybe serve it better at this point, because it's not like they're making a gritty Western show anymore. You know, it's a greater Star Wars universe show.
Yeah.
And I think it kind of needs a movie for that now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what? Just let Moff Gideon be dead this time. Just let him.
Please let that be why there's no more show. Like that was just the saga of Moff Gideon, and now we're moving on to movies, which is something different.
Yeah,
I would love that.
I love Giancarlo Esposito as Moff Gideon. He was great for those first 2 seasons, but then this third time around, it was like, come on, it's the same thing. Over
the repetition
and over.
is just so bad. It's so
I just felt like
monotonous.
I was watching like at the end of the day, like just 3 long cartoon episodes where like, you know, he's the main villain.
Yeah.
He's still doing the thing, and then the hero goes in. He's like, I'm gonna stop you, and then he stops him, and then you're like, I'll get you next time, Mandalorian.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, like the first season, I think was a kind of like I thought it was ridiculous that he survived the first season, but I think it was still like a good setup into season 2, because you had the Darksaber at the end and at the end of season 1, and you're like, oh wow, okay, what the hell's going on here? But yeah, no, after season 2 he should have just been written out.
Right.
But no, he had to be broken out of prison.
Or just like, even if you did keep with Moff Gideon, just, I don't know, I don't need to have him like, well, now I have Mandalorian armor so I can fight you.
Right, and let me show you these clones so you can just destroy them, and let me tell you my evil plan.
Yeah,
he was
he was monologuing, you know.
Yeah, he was. That was a bad finale.
I was
bad
thinking
season.
the Frozone thing, and guess what? He was monologuing.
Oh man. Well, hopefully the movies are written a bit better. From what I hear, Dave Filoni will be helping write.
But Jon Favreau, I mean, like,
movie.
I think that's a great idea. I mean, he's made some of the best movies in the past 20 years. Like you did, Elf, Iron Man. He did The Mandalorian first. Well, helped bring about The Mandalorian. I know people really.
Oh yeah,
like,
I guess he didn't really direct that.
I know a lot of people love. Well, I think he might have done some stuff.
I think he did a couple of episodes. Yeah, but not.
But I mean, he's just been a part of so many great things, you know. And
I mean, a lot of people like. Didn't he do a movie before Lion King, like a live action?
Oh,
did he do?
He did Lion King.
He did Lion King, but I know a lot of people didn't like Lion King. I don't know. Maybe he didn't do another Disney one, but yeah, I think he's always got a job at Disney for sure.
For sure. I mean, let me see if I can look up some of his movies and shows. Chef. I never watched Chef, but Chef.
Oh yeah.
The Jungle Book. He did Jungle Book.
That's what I was thinking. Jungle Book. Yeah. People like Jungle Book.
Yeah, they did like Jungle Book. So I mean, yeah, I mean, let alone Elf, Iron Man, great.
Elf and Iron Man is all you need, and that's stellar directing. Like two of the most iconic movies of all time, honestly.
Yeah.
So.
And I know people like Swingers, and and like we said, Jungle Book. So yeah.
Good director for sure.
Yeah.
So I have some hopes for it.
Yeah.
Well, on the other side of the Disney coin is the Daredevil news that's come out. Good news for sure. But basically, what? Is it not? You don't think it's good? Wow, I'm shocked.
Hot take.
So basically, the decision was reportedly made last week to bring back Karen and Foggy into Daredevil Born Again. We also got
at least they're in talks, right? They just kind of were like, well,
I mean, yeah, I heard the decision had already been like kind of made, so maybe they are in talks. I don't know. But like what was also kind of big news about that was that like a last week or two, the I guess the viewing order for Marvel on Disney Plus was updated,
right? Which
confirms that all the Netflix MCU shows are now a part of the main canon like storyline.
The Defenderverse.
Right. And basically Vincent D'Onofrio confirmed that after the overhaul, like the creative overhaul they did after the writer's strike, they like all the creators got together and said like we have to include all of this stuff now. It's just like this is just what we have to do. Which definitely feels a bit like fan appeasement to me. And not really like totally, I don't know. It just feels like they've jumped off their wagon pretty fast of like this sure boat they were going down, you know, or sure road where they were like, yeah, no, we don't want that stuff to be canon. We want a new kind of rebooted story.
Right.
But now it's just like they saw all the fan backlash and were like, yeah, maybe let's just go with what the fans want. So, could be bad, but I think for the most part it is all good news. Not every Defenderverse show was great, but I think having the Daredevil series canon is pretty amazing. And that it will be like Daredevil Born Again will be a continuation. So I think I'm pretty happy about all of this, but it doesn't sound like you quite are.
It's not that I'm not happy. I love the Daredevil series on Netflix. Admittedly, I did not watch the Defenders movie.
Show.
I saw show.
Yeah, it's an 8-episode show. Yeah.
Okay. I did not watch Defenders. I did not watch all of Jessica Jones. I did not watch all of Luke Cage. I did not watch all of Iron Fist, but I did see all
I missed a lot. I missed a lot of the Defenderverse. Like I watched Iron Fist season 1, I watched Luke Cage season 1, and I watched Daredevil season 1, and I watched Defenders, and that's it. Like I didn't see any season 2s.
Right.
So
or in the Punisher.
I didn't see Punisher either. Yeah. I saw like the first episode of that.
Yeah. So I can say I was reading up a little bit and basically the Vincent D'Onofrio, who plays Kingpin, was saying that the reason that the Netflix shows were adopted into the MCU and he was saying this around the time that Echo premiered, which I have not seen yet. So
yeah, same.
There's things that we could talk about that would also further the conversation that we can't necessarily speak about because we haven't seen it.
Yeah,
mostly
I think
speaking
we'll
about
review it in a week or two.
Yeah, hopefully I'll be able to get around to that.
Yeah,
But
me too.
he was saying that the reason that it was adopted in the MCU was because of the way Daredevil Born Again blew up, and people talking about it. And like you were saying, like apparently the decision to bring back Foggy and Karen was like a week ago. So
Yeah.
I'm still like,
right, they're still writing it, they're still figuring stuff out.
You're still supposed to be making this show, get the actors all scheduled and figured out. I mean, I feel like,
Right.
Basically, I'm not unhappy. I just feel like there was, like you said, there was this idea that like we have
there was a whole plan.
There was a plan.
Right.
And like obviously from just the way that Hawkeye went down, with Kingpin getting shot in the head, would not in the Netflix show, that I'm sorry, he would be dead.
He would die.
But
right.
from what I understand in the Echo show, spoiler alert, it grazed his eye or whatever. And
interesting.
And not to mention that even when his fight with Kate Bishop, he's this
right. He got hit by a car.
He so like powerful. Just
he's like a comic book strength villain. It's a bit ridiculous. So I think they got to make that like uncanon, or like maybe just never mention that fight ever.
I've heard people talk about like the snap happens and he gets some sort of powers from something that happens with the snap. I don't love that. I don't love that either. I mean, like we have not seen anything to suggest that that's something that would happen.
No, we've had like 20 projects since the snap, and nobody's gotten powers from the snap.
Unless something happens where like that's how mutants occur, like a mutant gene is activated. I don't know. That's just the lamest fucking. Yeah, all right, yeah, sure. Maybe that's how they'll write it. But I will say that there's just a lot that has to get worked out, right? So, are we gonna keep the same guy that did Iron Fist? I say probably not.
Well, yeah, I don't think you're bringing all of them back, per se.
Like, is it truly canon? I guess. I don't know, but
yeah, it is. Yeah.
Do we keep Jessica Jones? Do we keep Luke Cage? Do we keep the Punisher? I think they're probably going to bring the Punisher back.
Yeah, it sounds like John Barenthal is going to return, although he said some things recently where he's like, look, if I'm returning, it has to be very true to the character. It's got to be perfect for Punisher. So yeah, I think he'll do it if it's like a really great script.
But it just feels like, I guess, it feels that they are trying to now bring something in that was not necessarily intended to be a part of what was going on in the first place. Yeah. And so this Daredevil that we've seen is not too different than the Daredevil that we saw in the Netflix show, but significant. Like, there is changes, and I just like when he's in She-Hulk, there's jumps that he's doing that he would not normally be doing. Right.
Yeah, like from what we see in Echo, though, it's like he's wearing the exact same suit. He's doing very similar fighting maneuvers that he did in the show. So I think Echo at least is taking all of that into account. I know it's not. From what I've heard, it's not like a great perfect show. But they do the Daredevil stuff right, from what I've heard. So, but funny enough, like I never had a problem with this suit, and now like all the fans are like, we should probably have a new suit for Daredevil, But it's like, I get it. It's not like the most comic accurate suit, but I still think it looks dope as hell.
I am just tired of people saying, "Oh, it's not comic accurate." I don't need it to be comic accurate. It needs to be adapted. It needs to look good on a movie screen. Like, I feel like Marvel's done a great job at adapting comic book superhero suits.
I think that's probably one of the best things they've done in Phase 4 and like 5 maybe, is adapting comic accurate suits.
No,
like,
I mean, just
I'm not saying
even all the way back to like when the MCU first started. They've always been great at adapting suits, minus Steve Rogers, Captain America in Avengers, the first Avengers. Maybe we didn't need to be like that. Not a great suit.
Oh, like super comic accurate?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Super comic accurate, did not look great.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I guess I'm a critic of the first Avengers. I don't think I've ever really complained about his suit in that, but it's valid. Yeah.
It's goofy.
Compared to everyone else's who's very...
It's a goofy suit.
I don't know.
They even poked fun at it in Endgame.
Yeah, they did.
I mean, I'm on the opposite end of you. I don't know how you cannot like the first Avengers. That movie's great.
I think it's aged better than I expected, but I came out of that movie and I was disappointed.
What?
I genuinely, I thought one of the worst things about Phase 1 was Thor, the whole movie of Thor. I didn't like almost anything about it, even Loki, the character Loki. And to have made him the villain of that movie, and for it to really just be a showcase of fighting and not the greatest of storytelling was a little disappointing, I think. So it was very visually fun. I'll give it that.
All right. Well, we're getting off topic.
We are.
I'm like, cool. All right, fine. We wanna bring in Daredevil into the Netflix Daredevil stuff into the MCU. Fine. I feel it's a bit weird. It's like you're gonna, like, for example, we're gonna have Mahershala Ali and his same face, playing two characters at this point.
We've had that happen a couple of times now.
But they were pretty much in extensive makeup that you wouldn't even know.
And here's the thing. Mahershala Ali was in the first half of season 1 for Luke Cage. He doesn't make it the whole season. He's not even the main villain of that season. So I think it's sure. It's I get it. It's not maybe the cleanest of castings or recastings per se, now that you have that canon. But is there anybody else besides Chloe Zhao that has done 2 roles? In person?
Chloe Zhao was the director of the Eternals.
Oh, who am I thinking? Oh, is it Gemma Chan or
Gemma Chan?
Gemma Chan? Yeah, she played an alien, a Kree in the Marvels, and she played in the Eternals.
Yeah.
I think that might be the only in-person dual role.
There might have been one other.
I know Linda Cardellini played Hawkeye's wife and Rocket's Lila.
Oh, right.
But that's an animated and voice role.
Yeah.
So, or not animated, but CGI.
Right.
So maybe that's the most difficult one to embrace. But it doesn't really bother me, to be honest.
I just feel a little weird about it. Maybe it'll it's pretty new news, and it's like a whole well, now I have to fit this into the canon of the MCU, and I just always kind of was like, if it's a fun thing, and now we were bringing those characters into the MCU, but in they are just a different, the Netflix was going to be a different universe,
But it was always implied that that universe was a part of the MCU.
Yes,
they barely made mention to it in the shows, but
I would have been more okay with it if they had originally planned that and then put Kingpin and Daredevil into She-Hulk and Hawkeye the way that they would normally be, but now they've been powered somehow,
Yeah. It's interesting.
It's just a little strange.
That's the part I don't love, is that Daredevil and Kingpin act differently in their most recent appearances.
Right.
So hopefully they fix that and make it cleaner, but otherwise I'm pretty happy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad that I just want Daredevil. I just want it. I want it to be good.
Yeah.
And if they can do that, then fine. I'll be happy, I guess.
Yeah, but I don't think it's going to release until 2025 now, to be honest.
That's fine.
Now that they haven't even filmed yet.
Let me watch some other things instead of just watching, superheroes. Speaking of watching other things that are actually I'm sorry.
Playing other things.
Playing other things that are not superhero related. But still Disney somewhat related. Disney's gonna make up, half of this podcast today.
Yep. So
Ian just let me know that there's a Indiana Jones game coming from Lucas Games?
Lucasfilm Games.
Lucasfilm Games. And that is Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. And the Great Circle.
Yeah. Not the greatest of titles.
Not a great title.
I said to you that it's probably the worst Indiana Jones title they've had.
It's just so boring. Like
it is a little boring, yeah.
Sorry, just I mean, granted, watching the trailer and him saying, well, if you look at all these places of historically important significance to human civilization, they would all create a perfect circle. That's interesting. That also makes me feel like something with the Mayans or Romans or something that with mathematics or some sort of, or it's going to get into aliens. I don't know.
What's exciting about that is that I think we get to see so many different locations because he's going to probably go to every single one of them.
Right.
And I'll get into this stuff I really loved about this trailer. I think at first I wasn't sure about the voice. The voice actor, but as the trailer kept going, I kind of absolutely love how it sounds. It's not exact, but it's pretty close.
It's pretty cool. It's pretty good.
And I think I really like it.
I think the voice actor for Marcus was really good.
Yeah, he was good. I didn't even notice that it was a different voice actor. That's how good it was.
Right.
So yeah, and then visually the game is pretty beautiful when you're looking at in-game footage. It's up to quality with AAA titles. It is made by Bethesda / I don't know who's the developer under Bethesda. But yeah, I loved that we're getting kind of all the aspects we love about Indiana Jones story, where we get his adventuring side and trying to find out a mystery, but you also get these epic grand set pieces where he's shooting out of a World War II plane and he's jumping from other planes to another plane. It's just that stuff looks so exciting. It's exactly what I would want from an Indiana Jones kind of story.
And I like the first person aspect to it.
Yes, yeah. I almost didn't even it didn't even I usually don't like a first person type of game, but that didn't even faze me. I think it feels really natural to have it in first person. Yeah, and then and it being in first person, the combat that goes along with that, where you're pulling out the whip and you're pulling guys in and giving the classic Indiana Jones punches, and it looks fun as hell. I'm pretty shocked how good it looks.
Yeah, the thing about the action was it was classic Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
In a way, because it was it was kind of stylized. I don't know how, but it was
yeah.
But yeah,
it was I don't know how I think they maybe just kind of slowed down the enemies a little bit, maybe. But it allows Harrison Ford. It allows Indiana Jones to definitely pull out some cool maneuvers, with his whip and maybe not always rely on a gun. So, I think it's very, very well done, and I think this was exactly kind of what I was saying. We were talking about Indiana Jones a while back on the podcast, and I was like, I would love just to get a story with a new actor, and not have it try to connect to the other movies, but set during that same time period. And I think that's what this is kind of doing, but in a game kind of format. So I am insanely excited for this, and it's coming out this year.
Oh
so.
yeah. it looks exciting. It looks cool. It makes me hope that the story's good enough to make me feel like excited for an Indiana Jones property. To be honest, after watching the trailer, I kind of thought like, why? Maybe there is other Indiana Jones games, but I was like, that's a good idea to like be able to actually like keep the Harrison Ford likeness. And keep the you know, Indiana Jones character, but have the like why didn't somebody think about that earlier? Because that is actually a great idea.
Yeah, from what I know, like the only Indiana Jones games are like the Lego ones,
which are great.
So I haven't played any of the Lego ones for Indiana Jones.
I used to play them a lot.
I only played the Star Wars ones, to be honest. But yeah, I think it was just never really. You know, I wonder if there was one made for Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, because my thought was that like, well, the movies just came out at a time where video games based off of a movie just weren't happening yet, and I think in 2009 that was kind of like peak era for those kind of video game movies.
Yeah, you had like, well, even before that, you'd have like Spider-Man, Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man 3.
Right.
You'd have
they did one for like every single Harry Potter movie.
Superman Returns, Superman Returns.
Yeah,
right.
They did X-Men.
Did they do X-Men?
They like, I know they did a I think an X-Men like a Origins Wolverine game.
Oh
I think.
yeah, terrible.
Yeah,
that was terrible. Everything about that was terrible. The movie.
Well, the movie, yeah. I never played the game, but
I remember the game being terrible.
Yeah.
They did a Thor game.
Did they really?
Yeah.
Wow. For what, like the one in 2011 that came out?
Yeah.
Wow. I didn't realize that was still around that era. But
yeah.
Interesting. Well, I think this will be better because it's not based off of an actual movie. It's just based off of the property. So
yeah, and I think the opening scene with, I'm assuming, a German guy with a broken nose, which is most likely from Indiana. I thought that whole opening scene was great. And if it can maintain stuff like that, that'll be great.
I think that was probably like the worst looking part of the trailer for me. But yeah, I think it's a good scene in general. So I'm not upset with that.
Yeah.
Cool intro for a trailer / game. So
yeah. But I'm excited.
Yeah.
But
for
I
sure.
mean, anything's better than Dial of Destiny, so.
Yeah. Even possibly Kingdom of the Crystal Skull might be better.
No, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull is better.
I still haven't decided that.
Ian. It's terrible.
I know, but Crystal Skull isn't good either.
No, but it's way more fun and memorable.
Maybe.
I can say that we had way more fun, and at least the insane parts were like, at least in like, they were like, this is crazy, but at least there was like something to talk about, as opposed to Dial of Destiny, which I know we're getting off topic, but it was just boring.
Well, it's Indiana Jones, but yeah.
It's just Indiana Jones.
No. I was saying like we're still talking about Indiana Jones. Yeah. But I feel you. I mean, yeah, Dial of Destiny was boring until like the very end. So yeah.
But even then.
No, I will say that like when they time traveled at the end, I mean like that whole sequence was pretty exciting, to be honest.
The getting into, and spoiler alert, but getting into the getting on the plane, going through the portal, all the implications of what they might do was exciting. I'll give it that.
Yeah.
But then it was like, we miscalculated. You know?
I don't, even that's exciting as hell to me. Like I love seeing, like, that is a staple of Indiana Jones movies.
No, it is. I agree.
Because the villain's plans going wrong I think it's great. And
I agree.
And clearly,
but like I like it, but I like it better when it's like a terrible, horrible death. It's like usually when the plan goes wrong, it's like something that happens within like a minute or two. This was like for a whole third act, you know?
I think you're like, that wasn't a very long third act. Like that whole thing, like when they were in the past, I think that was all of like 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes.
That's a significant amount of time.
Yeah, but like for a 2.5 hour movie, like I don't know if that, if I can consider that a full. Maybe it is a third act. Maybe that is, I don't know.
Pretty close to a third act.
But then that means that second act was just insanely long. Like that's a really long second act.
I would say that
everything.
great. I would say that everything from getting the dial, and then like you got the dial, and then they're going on the plane. Everything.
Yeah.
Is the third act.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. But it's not. It doesn't feel that long to me, which I guess is why I'm not bored in that act. But I don't know. That's just me. It's just me.
Yeah, it's just you.
Yeah. Nobody else in this world. Just me.
No, I mean, to be fair, like my girlfriend's brother really liked Dial of Destiny, and
he liked it.
I just shut my mouth. I just shut my mouth.
Yeah. You're like, I can't get through to this guy. Yeah.
I'm not going to change anything. I don't want to ruin his I don't want to make a bad impression. I just shut my mouth.
Yeah. Well, should we talk about the other trailer then?
Yeah. Okay. So in regards to what I was saying earlier, to watch other things that are not already existing properties,
right?
There is a new show coming to Netflix in March called The Three Body Problem, and it's from Weiss and Benioff, who
ruined Game of Thrones.
Okay, but were the ones who made.
They also made it great. Yes, season 1 is one of the best seasons of television ever.
They created, alongside George R.R. Martin and a lot of hardworking people, they created a cultural phenomenon and at least 4 of the best seasons of television that I've ever seen.
Ever, yeah, sure.
So, 5 through 7 are,
and here's the thing,
mixed bag.
They still made really good 5 and 6. Season 5 and 6, I think, are really good still. Just not perfect television like the first 4 seasons.
And I like 7, and I like parts of 8.
Parts of 7, I'll say I like parts of 7, and most of 8 I don't like.
But they are making a show based off of a book series called The Three Body Problem. And so a little bit about it. I'll read the log line. It says, a young woman's fateful decision in 1960s China reverberates across space and time into the present day, when the laws of nature inexplicably unravel before their eyes. A close-knit group of brilliant scientists join forces with an unorthodox detective to confront the greatest threat in humanity's history.
So I ended up reading a little bit about this in preparation for watching the trailer and talking about it. I think the start of the books is really interesting, but it doesn't seem like we get any of that in the trailer. Like from what I read in the start of the books, it follows that woman, right, from the 1960s, but it follows her as somewhat of like the antagonist, where she is like tired with humanity, and like the Chinese government like recruits her to basically figure out how to send radio waves, and the secret of that was to like make contact with alien civilization. She was told not to, but went rogue and kind of did it on her own, and so she was, she started this kind of secret society with other people who also wanted like the aliens to come, and who were also disappointed with humanity. So I think all of that I found so interesting, but then like the trailer showed the other half of that first book, where it's like we like all the like a lot of the top scientists of the world are turning up dead, right? And these characters group up to figure out why these deaths are happening, and yeah. So I think I would have preferred maybe to start with the other half of it, but I think the trailer still looked good from what I saw. It just wasn't great.
I think it looks pretty interesting. I mean, like the first half of the trailer is kind of like a noir, international like conspiracy. Why are these people being killed off? You have bodies hanging from lampposts. Some you know, scribblings, people seeing numbers.
Seeing numbers, right?
Yep. So there was that, and then
obsessively writing numbers.
Right,
yeah.
and then all of a sudden you get into this more fantastical side of things, and I don't even know where that's going. I think.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely the aliens. I think for sure, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
So I feel like like there's aliens.
Oh, yeah, there's for sure. Like, you know, that's. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I spoiled myself, but you know, that was what I kind of read.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's implied that there's aliens.
For sure.
There's also, if anybody's interested, I believe this book is originally Chinese.
Yeah, it was written by a Chinese author.
And there is a Chinese show that has already made this.
Oh, okay. I heard they had developed like maybe a movie back in 2015, but I guess it's a show instead of a movie.
There's a show.
Okay.
You can watch it on YouTube, I've been told.
Okay.
But it's very Chinese, and I've been told that like Western audiences may not necessarily well, just like it's just different storytelling than we're used to.
Sure.
But but there is that if anybody's doesn't want to wait for this Netflix show. But there's some names that will be will from Game of Thrones that we remember. So there's John Bradley, who played Samwell Tarly. And there's Jonathan Pryce, who played
Davos.
No. Well, there is the guy that played Davos though, which I'm excited about. But Jonathan Pryce, who was the high priest who took over King's Landing.
Wasn't it the High Sparrow?
High Sparrow. So he's in that.
Oh, I didn't even see him in it.
And then
was he in the trailer?
I don't know, but and there's Benedict Wong, who plays Wong in the MCU, who also plays a witch doctor in What We Do in the Shadows, and he brings back people back to life by scatting. So
what, like jazz scatting?
Yeah.
Wow, that's quite the plot point.
You got to watch that show because it's pretty incredible. He brings back Haley Joel Osment as like a zombie by scatting.
Cool.
Yeah.
Gotta love it.
And from what like Ian was saying, the people who are making it alongside the writers were saying like there are things that are not going to be from the books in here, but they wanted to keep at least the feel, which hopefully that's done well.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's a lot of things that they didn't include in Game of Thrones, and we still think like even in those first 4 seasons there was things they didn't include, and it's still pretty perfect television. So I don't think that's a problem. What I do like though about the trailer and about the whole concept is that it's set in a very grounded like real world. Like it's a sci-fi type like plot and show, but for the most part we're getting a pretty realistic setting with like sparse sparse fantastical elements in that.
Right. It feels a little like Westworld-y. You know what I mean?
Interesting.
There's that.
Yeah, because that kind of had a grounded feel, but this very
there'd be grounded
corner.
like parts of it. The people outside of the simulation or whatever, and then being in the actual thing. Because it feels like whatever that device is that they put on is like a way to view or to get into a separate plane of existence where like maybe things are happening that we don't know about. It is I am curious what like the 3-body problem is. I'm wondering if it's like science, religion, something else, or if it's like this reality, another reality, and something else.
So I do know. Don't tell me. But maybe they'll make it something different. I think that's possible, that maybe kind of like build on what's there. But yeah, it's neat. I think it's interesting.
Yeah, I'm excited.
I don't think
I like. Originally, Benioff and Weiss were gonna make a Star Wars movie. You know, that's what they left Game of Thrones for. That's what they ruined.
Well, they also left
Game
it for this Netflix deal.
Yes.
So they're still on this Netflix deal. Like I think one of them wrote Gemini Man. The other wrote this show from not show. The movie came out last or 2022. It was like a metal show, high school metal show or whatever. Maybe not show, a movie. So like they've been writing stuff for Netflix. It's just nothing's really like panned out so far for them. Like I think
this feels like they're like, this is the first thing that I've seen that was like from the creators of Game of Thrones, you know, like I feel like this is the thing that, and I've been told like this is a very well, I think this is definitely what they want to make their next Game of Thrones, right? And like from what I've heard from people who know about the books, like read them, they're like, this is a significant undertaking of a story to tell, so that's exciting.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard it's one of the best like books ever written by a Chinese author. It's a trilogy of books from what I hear. So they have a lot of material to go off of.
Yeah.
And not even just from Chinese author. I hear it's one of the best like sci-fis ever written as a book. So,
which is exciting for me because like honestly, like in the past like few years, we've had so many exciting sci-fi material come through. Yeah, we're getting this. Apple did Silo, which I haven't finished it, but that's great. We've gone For All Mankind. We've had I know people have talked a lot about Foundation, which is an Isaac Asimov like book series that people love. We've had Dune.
You got Rebel Moon.
Look, they can't all be winners. And by the way, Rebel Moon, written by a director. All these other things have been written by authors who are telling like the story was the thing to live and die off of, and that's why it's been so good. But I just think it's pretty exciting to get all this these really like people like like rave about these like book series, and now they're being told in a new format and for more people to digest because not everybody reads. Yeah. And I don't. And that's why you're stupid, Ian.
Aww.
No. I haven't read the Silo series. I want to read them. I do. But
stupid.
Hey, I called you it. I mean, if I'm not reading it, I might be stupid.
But yeah, I don't think I would have originally, like, without reading about this, I don't think I would have given it a shot because it is made by D.B. Weiss and David Benioff. And it's on Netflix, which they don't have a great track record of great shows.
But sometimes they do.
Sometimes they do. And so I will be giving, I mean, I guess I said that a lot about movies and whatnot this past year, but I plan on giving this a try when it comes out.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I will too.
Yeah.
I've just heard about this for a while, so then when the trailer came out, I was like, all right, it's happening.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. This is the first I've ever heard about it. So.
Okay. Yeah.
Neat.
Yeah. So go check it out. Save it on Netflix if that's a thing that you can do. I don't know.
I think it is.
I've only had Netflix again for like 2 weeks.
Oh,
maybe
nice.
3 weeks. I don't know.
So yeah, definitely also watch Pokemon Concierge soon.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Maybe I'll do that afterwards tonight. Might be a nice way to calm down.
Oh yeah, it's a nice chill time for sure. Yeah. So next topic though
is also sci-fi related.
It is. We got news of a possible prequel to the Star Trek trilogy that started in 2009. Apparently this would feature like none of the characters really from the trilogy, and it would be set years and years before it. I don't know how enticing that is to like a general audience, but
you don't say.
And I don't know how enticing that is to like diehard Star Trek fans, because I know a lot of them like weren't the biggest fans of the trilogy. So it's an interesting move, I will say. I think a smarter move would have been doing a spinoff of one of the characters, but yeah, I don't know. I saw all 3 movies. I only liked the first one. The second one was okay. The third one was bad.
What? Okay, I gotta disagree a little bit with that.
You like the third one, huh?
Okay, so it's been a very long time since I saw the first Star Trek and then Into Darkness. When Into Darkness came out, I really liked it because I think I liked Benedict Cumberbatch, and I just didn't really, I just didn't think that much when I was watching. I was like, cool, I get to see like starships and blah 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 blah. And when and then when the 2009 one came out, I was still kind of the same way. Like, you know, like I was watching Transformers and I just liked it because I liked Transformers. So like there wasn't a whole lot of like story that I was, but I just didn't get around to ever watching Star Trek Beyond. But when I did, like not too long ago, I'm not saying I loved it by any means. But I did I did enjoy it quite a bit. Now I'd have to watch the other two just to see how I felt about it, but I mean, my memory is that, like, you know, just I felt like they had rushed the Kirk aging plot. Like he was still like pretty young, and he shouldn't have been thinking about retirement at that point. I also felt like this was like by far the cheapest those movies had ever looked. Like all the alien like sets didn't look the greatest to me, and even like the main alien character they paired them with isn't like the greatest of designs. It's just after watching a lot of Star Trek now, it was the most out of all of the, and this is called in Star Trek the Kelvin verse, because it's a alternate timeline. Then so it's this weird thing that happened. And also I can also speak a little bit about what this necessarily means for the prequels, for this prequel movie, but at least with Beyond, it was the most to like a Star Trek, actual Star Trek movie and what Star Trek is about than the first two, because the first two were kind of just trying to be Star Wars in a way. They kind of geared themselves towards being action adventure, which and then this one was more of like they were on this one particular planet. They were dealing with one this foe that was more or less had like idealistic changes and like opposing ideals and viewpoints, and it kind of tied into like, I think you found out he was like a Star Trek officer, like a Starfleet officer, and something bad had happened. But it I don't know, it was the most for me that going back to like what Star Trek is, and then the other two were kind of just like, hey, there's this crazy guy who's, you know, blew up a ship, and now we're gonna have space battles with him, you know. And then you had Benedict Cumberbatch's like Khan, and you didn't really know anything about him. You just knew he was. Yeah, no, that was a huge problem with the second one, is that like the original movie, like you had built up to that because you had already established Khan as a character in that universe. But like nobody knew who Khan was. Like not even the main characters knew who Khan was. So like, why would they be scared of this guy? Or why should we feel scared of him? Just, I mean, it's interesting too, because from what I understand, if this is the same, it's just like because the Kelvin USS Kelvin got shot up and destroyed by Nero, who was the villain of the first movie, and that's what kind of does the branching. So that's what. Right. So because he's not supposed to exist and blow that ship up. Right. So everything before that should still be the same, right? And Khan was this huge dictator and led a whole like war that they outlawed bioengineering humans. So he was this but he was like a dictator, but he wasn't like cruel, from what I understand. I don't know. But regardless, dictator. Lots of people knew of him. The name Khan, it would be similar to like Hitler, right? Sure, right. And so if we're saying that's the same, and then Benedict Cumberbatch's Khan shows up and nobody knows who he is, that's crazy. But yeah, I guess they didn't really feel like they had a history, right? I mean, from what I remember. Yeah. Well, okay, but regardless of that, do we know any other details about this prequel other than that's a prequel? It's, from what I understand, okay, it's being directed by Toby Haynes, who worked on the Andor series.
Okay.
And then a guy named Seth Graham Smith is supposed to write. He did... Oh, God, I can't remember what he did. It was like two things. One thing was bad, one thing was great. Okay. I'd have to look it up at the moment. Sorry that I don't know. But
no, yeah, you're good.
There is this one idea that was pitched a while ago where it was about Starfleet Academy moving up the early days and eventually getting to like building the Enterprise. And apparently the script was really good and exciting.
Okay.
But I don't know. Not a lot of people are crazy about the Kelvinverse to begin with. To make a prequel, I do think it would be good to kind of move away from the Kirk and the Spock stuff of it all, because it just hasn't really worked. I know a lot of people do like these movies. I would
say that's probably the best part of that for me, is like that their dynamic, because I'm a big fan of Zachary Levi. No, wait, that's not Zachary Quinto.
Yeah.
Quinto. Yeah. He's really good. I originally saw him in Heroes, if you remember that show.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then obviously I think Chris Pine is a pretty good actor. So I genuinely enjoyed their pairing, and I enjoyed most of that cast.
But it is a bit weird. Like, I feel like if you're gonna go years and years in the past, like, it depends, because if you're gonna make it like the early days of Starfleet.
Yeah, I mean, then why even tie this movie to the trilogy at that point? Why not just say this is a movie for all Star Trek universes that kind of establishes what Starfleet, how it started, and why it was necessary,
right?
You know?
And I think the original plot had Kirk's grandfather be like the main character.
Yeah, I don't know if that's enough for me to tie it to this trilogy. You know, I feel like you could still say that's just original Kirk's grandfather and make the Star Trek fans really happy.
Right.
But maybe that is something, I don't know, whoever's in charge of Star Trek now, maybe they don't want it tied, like another movie tied anywhere close to like the original series, you know? Maybe they just want to keep the original series and those movies for themselves and just kind of add on to the newer stuff. But
I don't know. I hope whatever it is good, but I'm not holding my breath. I don't even, like, this may not ever even happen, but it's an interesting idea. Sure. You know, we don't even know if Star Trek 4 is even going to happen.
Right. They were talking about doing Star Trek 4 for a long time, and I'm pretty sure that's been canceled. Like, they're not going to do a 4. So
it's just been so long.
Yeah. Plus, you know, they had one of the actors, he passed away like not too long after the third movie.
Right.
So I feel like it's just going to be hard to get all of them back together and do another movie. Especially Zoe Saldana, who doesn't want to keep doing these huge movies from what I hear. So.
I mean, you don't need Anton, who was playing
Scotty?
No, not Scotty. He was playing
is the Irish kid, right?
No, Russian.
Oh, okay. I know you're talking about that. Yeah.
Can't remember his name. I feel so ashamed as a Star Trek
I can't
fan.
either.
I can't. Well, of course, but like
I'm not a Star Trek guy.
Yeah,
you are. Yeah.
But no, I mean they don't need him, but like it would be sad to obviously not have him in there. For
sure. But can't say I'm excited about this one.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens. We'll see. Yeah.
Well, lastly, we are also going to be talking about Tom Cruise, because he is in the news quite a bit lately. First, we got the news that, he I guess signed this deal with Warner Brothers where he's kind of getting his own space, like his own lot where they're going to film movies. He's getting his own office, and he's going to start developing
original
films that he will be the lead star in, and yes, exclusively from Warner Brothers. I don't know if that's a sign of desperation from them or just like, hey, this is a pretty smart move. Because I do think it's a smart move. Tom Cruise, like 90% of the time, is like a box office guarantee.
Well, I will say though, did you know
the last movie?
No, but did you know that Tom Cruise up until Top Gun Maverick had never even been a part of a $1 billion film?
Wow, I did not know that. That's interesting.
That was his first and only $1 billion film. Like he does do a draw, but it's not that actual.
It's not like a crazy draw, right?
Right.
That's interesting. Well, regardless, it was announced that that Warner Brothers, reportedly would like him to develop an Edge of Tomorrow 2.
Which I think a lot of people would like, and they've been saying.
I would love that.
But I think, and I think they were going to, and then what happened was that Emily Blunt's schedule just like wouldn't happen, and it just continuously kept not happening, and that was
right. Because I want to say the script was written at one point for a sequel, but it just never.
And that's why they were like, "Oh, we're gonna do it," and then it just never lined up.
So yeah, maybe that'll be brought to Warner Brothers, and they can try and get that going. I think the only, but besides his deal with Warner Brothers, he is like confirmed, I guess, now making a Top Gun 3 movie. It's confirmed that Miles Teller and Glenn Powell will be returning for that. I'm a little torn about this because I do think you really only need those 2 Top Gun movies. I don't think you really need a third one.
But how can you not, after being, first of all, being the guy pretty much known by most people as saving movies, right? Movie studios, the movie going experience. To most people, when you think of like movies, going back to the movies, you think Top Gun Maverick.
Top Gun was the first, yeah.
And they made like $1.5 billion.
Yeah, I guess my thing is like Maverick's storyline to me is done. Like he's done what he needed to do, and I think this story now needs to focus on Miles' character and Glenn's character.
I mean, I'm sure somebody could do it, but I wonder where you even go.
I honestly don't.
I feel like it was like you said, like you just need the 1 and the 2, but
yeah, it's a really great 2-part story. I mean. And I hate to kind of compare Top Gun to Red Dead, but it's why like I keep having these conversations with some of my friends where I'm just like, I would love like another movie in that universe or another game in that universe, but that's a perfect 2-part story. Like I don't need anything else added onto that, and that's kind of how I feel about Top Gun. So yeah, am I excited to see that? I mean, that kind of a movie again, yeah, because it was fun as hell, and it was probably one of my favorite movies of that year. But yeah, I don't think I need it, to be honest. So I'd rather see Edge of Tomorrow 2 get developed first, but
so
that's just me.
A couple interesting things I was reading about this. So we have this deal with Warner Brothers, right? Get to make a bunch of exclusive movies for Warner Brothers original ideas, and they want to do Edge of Tomorrow 2. Well, you would think if there are also this news coming out about a Top Gun 3 being developed with Paramount, that why would he want to do that? He made $1.5 billion for Paramount, and he's doing his Mission Impossible movies with them. Well, apparently, 2 things. There was a lot of tension with the Top Gun Maverick side of things, where there were a lot of reshoots. It was originally
wow.
Yeah, there was a lot of it was originally supposed to come out the year before. That didn't happen. Pandemic happened, and then it eventually came out.
So, but from what I hear, he's still developing this with Paramount. He's not developing this with Warner Brothers.
Right.
Yeah.
So the other thing is the handling, the release and budgeting issues of the most recent Mission Impossible movie also caused a lot of tension. And so it's possible that there may only be part 2, and that's the end of the Mission Impossible movies.
So there's news on that came out today, by the way.
What's that?
Dead Reckoning Part 1 has officially been retitled to just Dead Reckoning. So there won't be a Part 2 now. Yeah.
I thought they shot both.
No, they did not.
Well, I've not seen it, so I don't know.
I haven't seen it either. Yeah.
If that's unsatisfying.
Yeah, I mean, I heard the villains of it like weren't the most satisfying. So maybe that's why there was like semi-low box office numbers. I just do think it came out at a bad time.
But it also like all the IMAX. That's what he was complaining about, like the IMAX screens, the release of it. It didn't.
Yeah.
And that's partially why it didn't do so well.
Right.
So it might be that
I think it could have easily made like 200 million more like dollars if it came out at a better time.
Sure. And I think that it's possible that Top Gun Maverick 3 is maybe a way to try to smooth things over and maintain a good relationship with him. But
yeah,
even with all that speculation, I think this is a win for Warner Brothers because they have
huge.
They get to have one of the most well-known and drawable celebrities and actors in one of their movies, and developing new material, which is always a good thing, I think, for the most part. And also because they have not been in, having the guy who brought back movies and movie theaters into business might be a good look after just kind of cutting off movies for tax write-offs and taking things off. And to a certain extent, I understand why they did that. Some of it I'm also very upset about. So but it's a good thing. I think it's a win-win. Tom Cruise gets to make a bunch of stuff. Warner Brothers gets Tom Cruise. And I think it's hopefully we get an Edge of Tomorrow too. And
I think what I'm kind of most excited about though is to see Tom Cruise star in something that's not one of his like top franchises.
Right. It's just been like I think Mission Impossible,
Top Gun.
What else?
Gosh, what else has he done recently? I feel like I can't even name anything. The only thing that's coming to mind that's even semi-recent. Man, I didn't even watch. Was he in? He wasn't in Tropic Thunder, was he?
Yeah,
he was.
He was Les Grossman in Tropic Thunder.
I'm looking him up right now.
Jack Reacher, The Mummy.
He did do 2 Jack Reacher movies, and he did that Mummy movie.
Edge of Tomorrow.
Look, the first Jack Reacher was good. Even though he's probably not the right role, he's not the right fit for that role.
Mm-hmm.
And Mummy didn't do well, so those aren't original like properties for him. Those are based off of a book and a remake of another movie. So I think I'm curious to see what he comes up with to star in as a lead.
Yeah,
for sure.
Because I think one of the last original things that he was in might have been Oblivion. There was also
when was that?
2013. And then
remember that.
Then besides that, a year later was Edge of Tomorrow. And then after that, it was like Mummy, Mission Impossible Fallout. Not too many other things.
Rock
honestly.
of Ages.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember liking Night and Day, if you remember that movie.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of good things about that one, honestly.
Yeah, isn't that Cameron Diaz, I think?
Yeah.
That's in it with him? Yeah. Well, so we'll see. We'll see what he comes up with. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I say that's it for the amount of topics we had today.
No mystery topic.
No well, I guess we did kind of mention what it would be. But did you get to watch anything these past 2 weeks or 1 week or so?
Yeah, I guess I'll catch some people up on the things that I've watched. I had watched The Fall of the House of Usher on Netflix.
That's right.
That's made by the same guy who's been doing The The Haunting of Hill House, The Haunting of Bly Manor. There's one other one, and now this is his newest thing, which is a adaptation of Edgar Allan Poe's stories mixed into a modern day telling, and it's really, really good. Some parts are actually quite hard to watch.
Oh yeah, okay.
But the story's really interesting. I think it ties into a lot of current day issues, and it's done very well, and the acting is really great, and it was fantastic, honestly.
Nice.
I've been watching Monarch. I am about to watch the last episode.
Nice.
Fantastic. Great. We talked about that not too long ago, but yeah, I highly suggest, if you've never seen Godzilla, doesn't matter. If you've never seen anything in the Monsterverse or King Kong, doesn't matter. It's just a great story.
So it could be a good starting point for that universe?
Great starting point. You don't need to know anything.
Now
Nothing.
It might go downhill from there, but you know, that's up to your interpretation.
I think that everything's been handled very well, and the budget's like,
everything.
I mean, it's really good.
Okay. I was saying like a starting point to that universe. So I was saying everything in that universe.
I really don't have many complaints about the Monsterverse. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah.
Is the plot line and the story of Godzilla vs. Kong great? No, it's not. But it's fun.
Terrible.
It's fun. Now,
yeah, sure.
We've already talked about Rebel Moon and our best and worst of.
Yeah.
Terrible movie.
Terrible.
Don't need to talk more about it. And I did, and my last two things, I did see The Boy and the Heron.
Oh, nice.
Do I think that it should get the Golden Globe for Best Animated Movie over the Spider-Verse? No, I do not. Do I think it's one of the better Studio Ghibli movies? It's okay.
Wow, only okay.
Maybe if I watch it again, I'll
have a different opinion.
Yeah. I
Mm.
honestly wasn't that crazy about it. It was fine.
Yeah.
There was things to think about that were interesting, but honestly, like, it was fine. It was
Okay.
it wasn't like I think if you're a Studio Ghibli fan, you should watch it. A lot of people had a like much better experiences with it than I did, but I thought it was okay. And then I watched Poor Things, which
I want to see that so bad.
it's really good.
Good.
I will say that there's some stylistic choices that I don't think sometimes can be distracting. Sometimes definitely add to the character of the film. It's Emma Stone gives like a great performance. Like
Didn't she just win an award for this movie, I think?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's great. Mark Ruffalo is hilarious. Like and he's playing like an asshole, and he's great at it.
Good.
Nice. The soundtrack is really interesting and unique. And yeah, I mean, does everything work? Does everything go to the lengths that maybe like the book does? I don't know. I haven't read the book, but or the things that I would necessarily thought it would go to. No, but I would definitely watch it again, and it's one of the more like unique movies that I've seen in a while. So
nice.
Definitely highly recommend that one.
I will watch it somehow. Where did you watch it?
In the movie theater.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, I'll try and find it when it comes to streaming or something. Because I don't think it's in theaters anymore, is it?
It might be.
Yeah.
It might be.
Okay. Well, so I have watched pretty much only shows since we last spoke. I finished Winning Time Season 2, which is the final season of Winning Time, unfortunately. Bummer that it got canceled. I think like this season, was definitely worse than like the first season, because that first season was like over the course of like the first season where Jerry West had bought the franchise, and it was kind of like chronicling like how they were able to become a successful franchise based off of that one season.
So it's more like a through line, like, and then this one I'm assuming is a bit more like fragmented in like years and stuff.
Yeah, the second season goes through, I want to say, 1, 2, like 4 seasons maybe, because they're trying to get to the point where like Magic goes up against Larry Bird for the first time, and they get to that by the end of the season. And there's some really great moments in that where like Adrian Brody's like one of my favorite parts of the whole show. He plays Pat
Adrian
Riley.
Brody.
Yeah, he plays Pat Riley, the head coach of the Lakers, and he's great. I love him in this role. And he had a really great part in this second season. But yeah, I think I was missing that like every storyline was like getting the Lakers to be a successful franchise in the first season, rather than like us really focusing in on like the Magic and Bird aspect of the second season, and then every other kind of character was a part of that at some points, but also had their own stuff going on. So it just wasn't as like concise of a season, but it was still good. And they had clearly like they had known that it was the final season, because at the end, like they were like, this player went on to do this, and this player went on. Yeah. So, I think it would have been really great if like this show got to like have 5 seasons or so, and then it like in the final season, like him and Larry Bird went up to face each other. But if this is all we got, then I can't be too upset about it, because we got to see like 4 seasons in one. So yeah, it wasn't bad. It just wasn't as great. And then kind of the same thing with Jack Reacher season 2 that I've been watching. I've watched the finale isn't out yet, but I've watched the first 7 episodes, and it's definitely good. It's got a good kind of mystery and good twists, but it's again not as like as good of a mystery as season 1. The plot I don't think is quite as good. The action it's still good. It's just not quite as good as season 1. But Alan Ritchson, like, holy crap, he got like twice as big for this season, and he was already big in the first season. So he really pulls off the Jack Reacher look. But yeah, I can't say I'm as satisfied as I am with season 1. And then I barely got to watch the first episode of Ted. Like I didn't get to finish it. The prequel show that came out on Peacock. Yeah, so I got to watch like the first half of that episode, and I mean, and already it's pretty funny. Like I'm laughing all over the place.
Cool.
So I'm definitely gonna have to pick it back up and watch the rest of the season. But they're really long episodes. Like the first episode I think is 50 minutes long.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so I think it would have been better to like maybe fit that more, because it's definitely like mimicking a 90s sitcom. Yeah, and I think it would have been served better if it was in like that kind of traditional like 22-minute format maybe. But I from what I saw, it was funny and good. So excited to keep watching that. Yeah.
I didn't even know that was out. I thought that was coming out. So
oh yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, it's we had to get Peacock because there was like an NFL game exclusively on Peacock for some reason.
What? That is such bullshit.
Yeah, it was bullshit. But Ted is on Peacock, so I was like, all right, well, there's an upside to this. So
nice.
Yeah. But that's everything I've watched this week. Yeah, and so this is the end of the podcast. We always want to say thank you for sticking around and watching or listening to whatever platforms you're on. We release on, I guess we'll be releasing on Fridays now on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube, and Podbean. All those links will be in the description, as well as our links to our social medias with Instagram and TikTok. And if you want to support us in another way, we would always appreciate a like, a comment, a rating, a subscribe, or a review. Hopefully a 5-star review. But yeah,
5-star reviews are only allowed. Anything less, like get out of here.
It just it doesn't help at all. Not at all. So yeah, get out of here with that stuff.
And I will say again, unfortunately, we are not going to have an in-person studio for the foreseeable future, unfortunately. I know it sucks, but we are going to try to make this format work. We're going to continuously update it.
And here's the thing. I think this is already twice, if not even better than that, of last week's episode.
Yes.
So I think we're just going to keep making improvements. I improved lighting and the camera. And I'm even wearing my last week this week shirt. Look at that. And,
yeah.
I mean, we're official over here. So we're doing things.
I understand. It would be nice to have an in-person studio. Maybe one day we will get to that point. But for right now, we are gonna make this the best that we can, and we will. I know it's been kind of bumpy getting up to here, but I think we're getting into a better place. And so
for sure.
Yeah. I'll just say that.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys sticking with us while we have tried to figure out these video problems and audio problems. And yeah, we just appreciate everyone who's supporting us and sticking around.
Yeah. With that being said, until next time.